You're live. Let's see. Donna Downey is live. I see it. Let's see if it's streaming. Can y'all see me? Can you see me, Kelly? You're live. All right. Well, this is kind of cool. So, hi guys. So, hopefully, this is working. It looks like it is working. And I really wanted to come on here today and do this stream because, first of all, we are all probably cooped up in our houses, and it would be nice to just break the monotony. But I've gotten so many questions over the course of the past several months. I started Patreon in November, and basically what I'm finding, people just are afraid of what's new, and I want to be a part of that change and doing something different. So I just want to give you a little bit of the backstory as to why Patreon, because that's probably one of the biggest things. Why are you doing things through Patreon? Well, first and foremost, being an artist means that you're not going to work getting a 9 to 5 job, and there are so many online workshops. I myself have done, I don't know, 100 online workshops over the course of the past 10 years. And what can I do? How can I be part of something that's different, that challenges, that shakes up the norm? I tend to be a rebellious person. I tend to be someone that wants to go against the grain. So I was sitting at the table having this really frank conversation with a couple students, and Kim Cadenhead, props to you, said, "Why aren't you doing Patreon?" That's exactly what you're talking about. Had no idea what that was. I'd never heard of it, and did a little research and found out that Patreon is actually a site for artists. And if you throw back to the days of when people would support artists so that they could buy art supplies in the Renaissance, when internet wasn't a thing and there was no such thing as online classes or teaching, you had to sell your work in order to make a dime. So basically, it's a site where people become subscribers or patrons to your art. And in exchange for their patronage, you promise something yourself. In my situation, being an artist, I promise for content, tutorials, lessons. And what I decided to do was, instead of doing online workshops, is I wanted to do something that was less finite. I felt like online workshops had become these vacuum sealed little things. This is what you want to learn, start to finish, go. And I wanted to be a part of something that felt a bit more progressive, that it didn't have an end. I didn't want the learning, I didn't want the inspiration to end. So this idea of being a subscriber meant I could then record and provide all the content that I'm doing. Instead of packaging it in an online workshop, I can just make it all available to the patrons. And as you look around me, I kind of position stuff all around me. Anything I do, whether it's assemblage or florals or figurative or mixed media or cards or whatever it might be, I'm just making it all available to the subscribers that are supporting me on Patreon. And there are different tiers. And the different tiers are based off of, number one, financial, but they're also based off of how much you would like to support and what kind of content you would like to get or where you are as an artist. So it made sense for me to start the basic tier as Inspiration Wednesday. That is where I started in this whole big, creative endeavor. And it is also where the heart, I believe, of my birth as an artist came from, and my rebirth as an artist, finding myself again. So Inspiration Wednesday, now entitled Inspiration Any Day, every month. If you're a $5 patron, you have access to my Inspiration Any Day journal, where I open up the page just like old school, and I do an inspiration journal page. And then I have a goal, meaning if I have X amount of subscribers, in this case it's 500 subscribers, I'm going to be doing 2 a month. And I have my journal here, I kind of made it in arm's length, that you can see I'm working through the journal just like the old journal, just doesn't have the inclusions. And all of these lessons then become available for the subscribers to be a part of. That tier is $5 a month. So the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, of a fancy latte, small fancy latte, is what your support would do and what you would get for that. The second tier is the $20 tier, and the first tier is called the fan, the second tier is called the follower. It's a $20 tier. This is where the meat happens of the subscribers and the patronage. The meat is everything else I do, I record and I make it available. So everything you see around me here is just a part of it. I believe at this point there are 30 art lessons waiting for you. Small mini classes that they're not like 6 classes to make a class. It's everything I've done, whether it's a canvas or small art or mixed media or collage or painting or figurative or still life. All of it is in there. And these are available. If you're a subscriber at the $20 tier, you just get all of it. It's not pick and choose a class, it's everything. You have access to everything that I do. On the next tier, the $49 tier, which is the member tier, that's basically for the person that is transitioning from a hobbyist to a professional artist, meaning you want to start recording what you're doing and put them on YouTube, or you want to know even how to price your art or sell your art, or how do you even find out about where exhibits are? How do you get them put in a gallery? How do you find out about contests? Everything like that kind of the hurdles that I've done the work and I can provide that real easy for you. There's also included in that $49 tier a monthly art challenge, critiques. So those people that have subscribed at that level can send me artwork and I will provide critiques. There's a lot of perks that go along with that as well as far as conversations. And then there is a top tier that I just added because people were asking me, how can I support you more? And it's the collector tier. And for that tier, and each tier is progressive, so you get everything from the one before it, and that tier gets everything else. And they also get mailed an original piece of artwork in the mail. It's called Art in the Mail tier, and that's for the collector tier. So the reason why I wanted to come on here is because it seems like it is a new thing. People don't like change, people don't like new, but for me, I don't like to stay still, and I don't like things to get stale. And I myself have purchased, I don't know, countless amounts of online workshops, and they are finite. Learn how to do this, and I really want to be a part of teaching you to be a better artist. And it's not a matter of just knowing what tools to wield or painting a face and now you're a better artist because you took this workshop. It's about the process of being an artist. It's about failing and getting back up and learning to see and putting together all of the parts of the artistry that really go into making an artist a better artist. It's interactive, it's whole. I have had people ask me, why do I have to pay to see your work? And that goes back to the support, and that ties into where we are today, really. There are countless amount of friends, peers, artists out there that have lost all of their viable income. They are basically unemployed, and the internet is the only way to seek out that audience. There has to be a balance between free content and paid content, especially when that is your full-time job and it's now been taken from you. And there is a lot of content I put out for free still. And even on the Patreon page, if you do play around in there, things are tabbed up there. And if you are a fan, you can click that tab and you can find out what you have to access just for you or whatever tier you are. But there's also a public tab too, where there's free information and content and stuff. But the idea of Patreon is about working with a community, for me at least, working with a community of artists that are really trying to grow in their mental sensibilities as far as the way they think about their art, in their physical capacities of producing art, and their confidence. I think that is really how, I think that's how independently I've become a better artist, by embracing all of those things. And again, Kelly, I have Kelly on the line here. Is there comments or anything that I'm missing? What'd you say? Keep talking. Okay, I'll keep talking. The other part of Patreon is people want to know what they're going to get for their subscription. And that's why I wanted to be on here. I know it's scary, and listen, I know that I'm not the only one out of work. But what I'm giving for that is the promise to keep providing art. And by your support, it allows me to keep producing artwork and to stay an artist. And, just my personal business has been affected. I've had to cancel or have to cancel and canceled on me 9 events. So my income right now through most of the year is gone. Your support is not just $5 a month. It's a breath of relief. It's a sense that this is something that will stay a viable thing for me to keep doing. And in some ways, it's a way to give back to the artist. And it's not just me. There's thousands of artists, from musicians to artists. I believe that many artists will be on this platform because of the very situation that we're in now. It's a way of giving back and helping me keep inspiring you, and to create an environment that creates more beauty in the world. And I see comments on here. I'm not sure. Just type a question and I'll read it to her. Awesome. Kelly, are there any comments that are coming in on Patreon since I can't see from here?
I don't see any.
All right. And I know that there's a lot of, people are afraid of new, and there's so much change going on. Nobody wants things to change. It would be just so nice if it stayed the same. But what Patreon also does for me as an artist is it provides a monthly revenue. It is not selfless. Patreon is not a selfless platform. It is actually me asking for the support because that is, it is somehow a sustainability to keep the art going. And I do have I saw a couple people, like I saw Brenda's on here. I saw a couple people that chimed in. There's right now, I think 310 patrons at all different levels that are supporting me on Patreon. My goal is to get to 500. When I get to 500, then I will be doing 2 inspiration any days a month, so that everybody at the $5 tier doesn't pay any more. They just get double what they're getting now. And so a lot of the $5 tier, I have thrown in a whole bunch of other stuff on there. One of the lessons that I have recently done, and you've seen these, I'll just show you some of the things. People were asking me, well, what kinds of lessons do I get? You get everything that I'm doing. So anything I'm posting online, if you want to know how to make it, it's on there. So this was those paintings. I know a lot of you saw that with Frida Kahlo. I have this start to finish, from blank to even creating the assemblage on there. This one has not gone public yet. I am in the process of uploading it. But this is a large mixed media piece, so start to finish. This is on there using a very weird floor sample. I've got this painting in progress over here that is going to be on there. This painting, which is a mixed media painting, is on there in its entirety. So all of those people that have taken workshops with me in the past, the teaching is not different, meaning I'm not teaching less and I'm not teaching technically more. I am just always teaching. I am recording everything I'm doing and I'm making sure I'm explaining it, because the only way we are going to grow is, I should speak up for myself. The only way I was able to grow as an artist was to shed the fears, was to shed the idea of perfectionism, or that I had to be something specific. And before I go, and if there are questions, Kelly, please feel free to shout them out. I want to tell you a little story, and I've told this to a lot of my workshops. And I think it's really timely right now. It's the tipping point where I changed from an artist that needed validation into an artist that could paint expressively with my heart. And I think this is going to resonate because I think a lot of people are looking for the thing that they need to do, but it's sometimes not have it has nothing to do really with art. So I've told this story before, and many of you, like I said, might know it. But a couple years ago, this was before my divorce. I Bob Burridge was teaching at the studio, and he said about a dozen things that just knocked me off my feet, that resonated so deeply. And after he left, it kind of sat like this rawness with me, and I just said, I've got to go and take this mentor workshop. It was in California, across the country, and it was just for 7 people at his personal studio. There wasn't any instruction. It was being in the presence of an artist that had a living artist that was in museums, somebody that had made it, somebody that was a lot wiser than me. So I shipped all my stuff across the country and I landed myself in California, and I spent 4.5 of the most incredible days painting. If those of you that live in the South, you know that there is no such thing as a breeze. There is no plein air painting because it is hot or cold. There's like 3 days of the year that you can actually paint outside. Well, this was near Santa Barbara, and it was 75 degrees. The sun was shining, and a breeze was blowing. And he had this amazing studio with free range chickens running around and horses. And I said, I'm going to need an easel, and I need it set outside. And he put together an easel for me, and I painted for 4 days outside. And I think there's something magical about feeling the world bigger than you. And I know right now that seems scary, but if we allow ourselves to feel the world being bigger than us, then it doesn't seem like we're so estranged from it, that we're a part of something. So every day, and if you know Bob Burridge, you know he's really fun at a party. He's a funny guy. He's in his 70s, and I just love him. So every day at the end of the day, he would come out and he would bring me a glass of red wine and walk away. And I was like, I kind of like this. And I had my headphones on every day, and I just didn't even know if I needed a mentor as much as I just needed to be somewhere else. Until the last day. And the last day, he came out and he pulled up a stool and he said, take that shit off. And I took the headphones off and he handed me a glass of red wine and he started talking. And he said the most amazing things. He said, you know, I've watched you paint. You've painted yourself into corners. You've painted yourself out. You've, gotten yourself into muddy spots and you cleared it up. And there is nothing. He's like, I know you're a self-taught artist, but there is nothing a classically trained artist has on you. You have put in the times. You should be proud to call yourself an artist. And I'm going to tell you, I was puffed up. I was bigger and bigger and bigger with every word he said, holding my glass of wine, proud. And then he paused and he said, however, it is so blatantly effing obvious that you have no idea why you paint. And got up and walked away and left me holding my glass of wine. And I just shrunk. And Jersey girl in me got all huffy and pity partying myself. And it wasn't until about a month later where I rose up out of bed. Life was very tumultuous at 3 a.m. Got up and went down to my studio and painted. I painted for 5 hours, 3 to 5 hours. I don't even know now. Got up, painted, and with a white canvas, a big white canvas, started the canvas with the words, "Stop the insanity," in black oil paint. The first thing I did. And those of you that have worked with oil paint know that oil paint stays wet. So I had to paint around that black oil paint for everything I did. I created this roadblock in starting, and I don't know why I did it. And I painted and painted, and I got exhausted, and I went upstairs and went to bed. And when I woke up later that afternoon, I went down, and I really didn't remember. I knew what I painted, but I wasn't sure. And it was a painting of myself screaming with my hands like this in my face with the words, "Stop the insanity," across my chest. And why is that important? Because up until that point, I had never painted faces. I had never wanted to paint faces. I would have never painted a face. I was even quoted as saying, "Why would I want somebody else's face on my wall?" But at that moment, I realized why I painted, the why in what I did. And that why was I painted because I had something to say. I painted because I needed to express, and I didn't always have the words to clearly communicate what it was I was feeling. And even though I could write "Stop the insanity," it was the expression. It was the gripping of the hands. It was the mouth open screaming that told the better story of what I had to say. And there is nothing wrong with painting flowers. I love painting flowers because that is the fact that I get to use every color in my palette and just make them big and bold and happy. But I wasn't really leaving myself in my artwork. And it wasn't even true or credible or a thing until fast forward 6 months later. I'm now divorced or separated. I have an event. It's Jesse Reno's event. It's not even people coming to see me paint, it's his fan base. And at the end of the weekend, a woman comes up to me and she says, "I'd like to buy one of your art pieces." And I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, which one?" And she walked me over to the painting of me screaming. And it was so unlike any of the other people that I had painted. It was a little bit disturbing. And I'd actually have people walk by it and comment and be like, "What in the hell?" And I said, "Do you mind if I ask you why you want to buy that piece?" And she said, with tears in her eyes, "My daughter is a recovering alcoholic. And every time I see that piece, every time she relapses, that's exactly the way I feel." And she knew none of my story. She didn't know how close that was to hitting home. And the why I paint is because somebody needed that, and that was the mode of communication. I wasn't leaving that on my canvas. I wasn't channeling that. And Patreon is about passing that forward. I needed someone to kick me and tell me what I needed, what was missing. And it wasn't I didn't have the right brush or the right paint or I didn't practice enough. It was about the entire artist leaving their art on the canvas. So, in asking you to support me, in turn, that's what I want to give forward. I want to give that part of my learning and all the other bits that come with it. The art, the story, the methodology, the process, the challenge, the opportunities. Because when we limit that vacuum of, "I want to learn to paint faces, I'm just going to paint faces," what if we don't know what we don't know? I didn't know what I didn't know. I was never going to paint faces. That was stupid in my mind. And it's the literal thing that might even go out on a limb to say was life-changing. And so I tell you that story because I think right now, even in the time we're in, it's those kind of, if we listen to what's happening, and life's going to get crazy and it's going to get ugly and it's going to get scary. But there's something in that to be learned. And I don't know what it is. Hell, I could tell you I didn't know all the times being kicked the last couple of years what it was for, but I know now on the other side. And maybe we don't know now, but on the other side we will. Okay, Kelly, I've been rambling. Did I miss anything? Please interject.
We got some lovely comments. Colleen Brown says hello from Oklahoma.
Hello.
Kelly Allen, I see you. Mary Sanders
Hey, Lizzie.
Andrea, coming in loud and clear. I think
Yes.
I will subscribe to the $5 level. Would love to go to 20, but can't do that right now.
Totally get it.
And she likes Facebook Live videos, better for it now.
Nice.
But keep on keeping on, Donna.
Well, and like I said, I think that there's a lot of people that don't understand what Patreon is and why it exists and why I'm not doing it on my website. And the other question I get, just so I can forget all the questions I even wrote down, but one of them was, do I lose all my classes on your website? No. They stay there just like they were yesterday, forever. And Patreon is not associated with my website. It is a separate entity. So your login for the website will not get you here, and this will not get you to the website. It is a separate special place for artists supporting artists, or patrons supporting artists. So like I said, there's a lot of newness to this. There's a lot of new stuff. There's going to be a lot of new stuff, unprecedented things. But I want to make the commitment to you that I'm going to keep making art for as long as I can. And my commitment is to keep sharing all of it with you. I am only here doing this video today because of all the people that have supported me, have been a part, have told their stories, have started with Inspiration Wednesday and have acquired, this sense of confidence and freedom, and especially the people that are now willing to take a risk and fail. Hell, I've recorded most of my failures for you because that is probably the most important part of any artist. For every, fantastic piece of art, I can't tell you how many failures there are before that. So, all right, guys. I've probably talked your ear off, and I'm so glad that this worked. Now that I know that it works, I don't have to have nervous poops anymore because I was nervous all day. Kelly, is there anything that I'm missing just before I...
Yeah, can I say one more thing?
Yes, please do.
One more awesome comment. Hey, Donna, this is from Dale. This is a good way to support the artists we love and we benefit. I've been buying original artist work this past year, but I can only do that so often. This is how I put my money where my mouth is. I support your work, and I get the benefit of your teaching, insights, and belong to a creative community. So very important.
Dale, that was probably, I'm a little bit teary. I'm not going to cry on camera because that would be sad, but that is beautiful. Thank you for writing that, and I think we need to have that as a testimonial.
Yes, I'm copying it right now.
Yeah, I think that was the kindest. Yeah, thank you, Dale. And it's really important. I think that again, this is about you. Patreon is not about me. It's about you. You have helped to make me the artist I am today. Yes, Bob Burge might have kicked me and told me what I needed to do, but you have really made me the artist I am today, and I want to make sure that I do everything I can and share all that I know to give back and say thank you to you and build this community and be there for each other when this is getting a little bit dark. And that's my other promise too. I will continue to keep putting work out there, and that subscription doesn't get you just one thing. It gets you, all of it in that tier. It's not just one class for $20, and you get to access it as long as you're subscribing. It doesn't go away. It's constantly there. All right, Kelly. I thank you for being my ears and my eyes on the other side of this today. For those of you that have questions, even though I am no longer live, once I go off air here, please write your questions in the comments, and I will do my best to answer all of them. This is a public post, so everybody can feel free and answer, and everybody will be able to see the answer. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Now let's see if I can figure out how to turn this bad boy off.